Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Insurance Explained with Andrew Perlin. Today, we're going to talk about something a little different. Most people think they have full coverage on their car, but there's a problem. And the problem is full coverage doesn't actually exist. It's not a real thing. It's never a phrase used in any auto insurance policy. It's one of the most common phrases used by people when talking about auto insurance. And it's also the most dangerous because it really does mislead people into thinking they are fully covered. And this is exactly what I mean when I talk about the illusion of coverage. It's when people feel protected, but they don't actually understand what they have. Okay. So over the next few weeks, I'm going to walk you through some of the most common situations where this shows up. But today we're going to start with one of the biggest ones, and that's called full coverage on your auto policy. Again, just to be clear, there's no place on the policy itself that says full coverage, because if there was a place, I'm sure everybody would buy it. But people use that phrase all the time. And as a result of that, people think that they are fully covered. So when someone tells me that they have full coverage, what they usually mean is they have liability, they have comprehensive, they have collision. And on the surface, that sounds like everything is covered, right? But here's the truth. That sets up only coverage in certain types of damage to your car. Okay, it does not mean that you are fully protected from a financial liability. It does not cover you in every situation or that you won't have a major out-of-pocket loss. Okay, that's the thing that I think people get confused on. They say it all the time, I have full coverage, but what does that really mean? So let's make it simple. Collision covers your car. You collide with something moving or stationary, and now you want to get your car fixed. You have collision coverage. We'll do that. Comprehensive refers to things like theft, weather, fire, like that kind of stuff. The most common comp claim, by the way, is a rock hitting your windshield. So if you have that, great, you go and get your car fixed and there's no problem. But the bigger risk in auto insurance isn't your car, and it isn't even the other person's car. The biggest risk is what happens if you hurt somebody else. And when people say, well, I don't care because I've got full coverage, well, that becomes a problem because even though you have quote unquote full coverage or what you think is full coverage, doesn't mean that you're fully covered. Let's talk about it for a second. Let's just say in this example, you cause an accident and you're responsible for the other person's vehicle, their medical bills, any lost income, and a potential lawsuit. This is where the illusion really shows up. You can say, I have full coverage and still carry very low liability limits. We talked about it in certain states, liability limits of $30,000 per person, $60,000 per accident. Okay, great. If you have that and you do minor damage, that's one thing. If you do major damage, it's not going to get you started. So, for example, if you carry $30,000 worth of bodily injury coverage and you're in a serious accident and the other person's medical bills comes to $150,000, your insurance pays 30 grand. You're still responsible for the balance of $120,000. That's not a small number. And you're probably thinking, well, what are the chances of doing damage upwards of $150,000 to somebody else? A lot better than you think. It happens all the time. Did you have full coverage? I mean, I suppose, right? You had all these things checked off on your policy, but you had low liability limits. And now there's this gap that you have to fill. Okay. So instead of asking yourself, do I have full coverage? Because again, there's no such thing as full coverage, and it really is about the coverage that you buy. The better question is, what if something bad happens? How much of that am I actually protected from? How big of a check do I have to write in the event the damage exceeds my limits? Because real protection isn't about checking boxes on a policy. It's about having the right limits, understanding your exposure, and making sure one accident doesn't undo years of work. Most people don't realize this until it's too late. They assume they're covered because someone told them they had full coverage. Coverage doesn't equal protection. This is one of the big things that we're seeing all the time. I wish they would get rid of this whole full coverage thing or this phrase because it doesn't actually cover everything. Okay, the thing you have to remember, as I said many times, is that the insurance company will only pay to the limit. Whatever you choose, that's the policy, and that's it. So just because you have minimum limits and you have comprehensive and collision doesn't mean you're fully covered. If there's an opportunity for you to write a check because you don't have enough insurance, I would argue that you are not fully covered. And that's the one of the illusions of coverage that I see all the time when I'm talking to new clients. Now, there are people out there who just like to say, well, I don't care about any of that. I just want to be I want to be legal on the road so I don't get fined by the motor vehicle. Okay, fine. If that's how you want to play it, I'm not here to tell you any differently. I don't agree with that methodology. My whole point of being an insurance agent is to protect people's assets. And if you are not fully covered, like in the example I gave you, and you have to come out of pocket $120,000 because you didn't have enough insurance, that's a problem, I feel. And $120,000 is a lot of money by way of out of pocket expense, but it's a small number by way of insurance. Just by upping your insurance to 250,000, you would have covered that and then some. And people get mad at the insurance company. They're like, well, how come my insurance doesn't cover this? Well, your insurance covered it to the limit that you chose. It's not the insurance company's fault that you chose a smaller limit. They will 100% pay to the limit. So you have to make sure that that limit is going to cover you no matter what. That's where I think full coverage should come into play. And if you're going to use the phrase full coverage, let's make it a max policy on all fronts so you are fully covered to the best of your ability. But just because you have comprehensive and collision and you're going to be able to fix your car in the event that you cause damage, that's great. But if you have to come out of pocket because you didn't have enough liability coverage, that's a problem. When you're talking to your insurance professional, don't use the word or the phrase full coverage. I would rather you ask the question, how much coverage or how much insurance do I have in the event something bad happens? And then what happens if it's not enough? How do we make that number big so we don't have to worry about any of it? I want you to think about this, talk to your insurance professional and see if there's any ways that you can make changes to your policy. If this has made you think differently, then I want you to share it with somebody who needs to see it, because auto insurance is a relatively inexpensive thing, but not having enough auto insurance can cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. And like I say all the time, if your life changed, your coverage should too. So let's review it. Hey, listen, thanks for being here. I do appreciate it. This is Andrew Perlin with Insurance Explained, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.